So, Mark, did you see that picture that Vegas Visual shared of 1940s slot machines in a grocery store? I mean, there's so much to talk about with this picture. Obviously, slot machines have changed so much since then, but also, how long do you take before somebody would just steal those today? I mean, they're just sitting on like what looks like a luggage rack or something.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised because those things are heavy. So I'm surprised that that hasn't like crumpled or held him up. And my buddy Ryan used to have his dad bought like an antique slot machine that looked just like that. It was in his basement. It was nickels. So as like 8, 10, 12-year-olds, we'd go in there and just feed it with nickels. And nobody ever won the jackpot in all the years. I don't know how they like didn't fill up the machine, but we tried. Every time we go to his house, we bring all our nickels, and nobody ever won anything more than like 2 cherries.
It's just crazy to me to walk into a casino today and all the complexity of the bonuses and, slot machines just aren't what they were even, 20 years ago. And then some people like them, some people don't, but this is just a reminder of a simpler time. And Main Street Station, if you guys want to see vintage slots, they have a whole collection there near their hotel lobby, so you can still go see these things in person if you want to. But man, have times changed.
I mean, they should let us play them. I mean, why have them there if you don't want people to use them? I think that would be awesome. It's lots of fun. Bring back all these old school, coin operated machines. Fill up the place. It would be great. $1.50 hot
Yeah,
dogs, everything.
they got plenty of space.
Yeah, that's true.
So Mark, because we recorded double episodes and I was on my cruise last week, we didn't get to cover the Vegas Golden Knights, and they won the Stanley Cup. I was in Norway, and the game started at 2 a.m., so I stayed up all night streaming it on the cruise ship, screaming. It was just me and the employees, everybody giving me weird looks as I was screaming. They scored 9 goals. It was an amazing game, and now we can officially call Vegas Hockey Town, right?
No, you cannot do that. One does not make you Hockey Town. But no, it was cool to see and good for Vegas. And this was the first pro team, which I think makes it extra special. The first one in Vegas, and they'll always have a special place in locals' hearts because of that. They'll probably add basketball at some point, and it looks like baseball, but it will never be the same as this was the first time we had a chance. Raiders are there, but this is the first time they had a chance to go to games, cheer them on, and they were so successful right from the start, which is rare. Usually you have like 10 years of garbage before you get good.
The Golden Knights owner, Bill Foley, when he launched the team, he said they would win the Stanley Cup in 6 years. They did. So that was amazing. And like I said, I was watching the sunrise over the fjords in Norway, which was amazing to do. Stay up all night to watch the game. I was jealous because my brother and my dad were at Game 5. So, I was like, that took all the wind out of my sails with my beautiful experience there. As my dad's like, yeah, I was there. It was great.
I'm team dad and brother.
Enjoyed it. I was so sad to miss this. I mean, obviously, when you're planning travel, you can't plan for them to win the Stanley Cup. But, they had the parade. Over 100,000 people showed up to celebrate the team. They were on buses. I think 14,000 people showed up in Toshiba Plaza outside the Tmobile Arena. And they did a whole show. Did you see that drone show where they did the whole Golden Knights logo in drones? That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that watches this show knows we both love drone shows, so it's cool to see. I kind of like the idea that our buddy Ryan threw out there for Vegas locals, like maybe they should have moved the parade off to like Summerlin or something like that and not done it on the Strip because it's for locals, but it just makes it so much easier on the Strip with the space, and they're used to doing stuff like that. Plus, with all the construction, it made it probably extra awesome that day,
But everybody I know that's a Golden Knights fan that lives in Vegas went to that parade, so I was super jealous to see the pictures, but it looked great, and it's so good to see the city come around this team, and it's a big, like you said, a big deal for Las Vegas, our first, Vegas-born team, and, we'll talk about the A's now, because SB 1, the bill to give public financing to the A's, was officially signed by the governor, I think, last Thursday, so that's the first major step, I guess, into getting the stadium built. Although the A's still have to file relocation paperwork with Major League Baseball, and the owners still have to vote to waive that relocation fee, but they expect all of that to be done, by the end of this year. January 1st is really the deadline to get everything finished so that they can start constructing it. There is some good news in that they snuck a few things into the bill, some amendments right before they passed it. First off, they locked them into that Tropicana Stadium site in order to receive the funding so they can't pull another switcheroo, which I guess is good, for stability and everything. And then they also made them contribute more to the community efforts that they have to do. And they still need to work out a deal with the Stadium Authority for construction timelines. I think the A's have to fund the first $100 million of the stadium construction, and they still need to find financing for the $1.1 billion that they're financing themselves. So still some hurdles to kind of get over, but it does seem like the A's are on their way to coming to Las Vegas.
I still don't know where the 1.5 billion's going, like in this tiny stadium with free land. It blows my mind, but it was interesting in the bill, and I know this is probably normal, but to see that they can sell their tax breaks to other businesses for money, which I find very strange that that's even allowed. But that's not a world we live in or are used to. But it just seems kind of funny that they could pull that off. I don't know that you'd be able to sell it for more money than it's worth to yourself, so I don't know why they would, but it was just interesting to see that in there. And then I love that the A's fans, we've joked about how they get less people in the stands than the local minor league team in Vegas, and they had this thing like day of a game, they're like, hey, let's get everybody in there. I think they sold like 25,000 seats and filled up as much as they can the Coliseum because it's massive, and then all cheered the entire game, sell the team for the owners. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, it was. They're really upset. The mayor of Oakland said they still want the team, so this is just a really ugly breakup, but the owners in Major League Baseball are expected to approve this, even though they're sort of very anti-relocation in that league. They want everybody to, try to stay put, but they really think that they weren't able to do that. As you said, they're getting $180 million in transferable tax credits. One other change is that they have to pay back 120 of that million through taxes generated on the property. I think it was 90 million before. One other interesting amendment is that they excluded any hotels and casinos from the stadium district, meaning Bally's will not be part of that, and it will be excluded, so it'll be treated just like a normal hotel and casino, as it should be. So as much as people are seemingly against this, or a lot of people are anyway, it seems like there were some interesting amendments to make it a little bit better for everybody. And we'll talk a little bit later about the biggest development in Vegas history that's been announced, which will include that NBA arena. But let's talk something other than sports for just a minute. The foreign tourist numbers were kind of released by the LVCVA, and they kind of broke down where everybody's coming from. As expected, the numbers still aren't even close to where they were pre-pandemic, but Mexico is really sending the most tourists here. They're number one with 989,000 visitors. Canada coming in at number 2 with 885,000, then the UK, then Australia, and then Germany. And based on our viewer numbers, it's not surprising that Canada, the UK are really high. We have a lot of viewers in those places, not so many in Mexico, but that's not a huge surprise. Canada used to be the number one for many years. Mexico, replaced that a few years ago. But there were some other interesting things coming out talking about, China and how nothing is really recovered from there. And, China was largely locked down through 2022, so that's not a huge surprise. Just a few thousand people coming from China. And Japan, too, still largely locked down, or at least very hesitant to come, and so we had a lot less Japanese tourists than in the past. So I think this kind of says that there's still a lot more recovery to happen for international visitors. And in the meantime, Vegas has been able to do better than ever with domestic tourists.
Yeah, just wait until this year's numbers come out with that soccer match that happened over the weekend with, like 100,000 Mexico fans in the area. So I'm sure that they're even going to spike above 1 million this year. But it was interesting to see, it sounds like it's rebounding. And then you see, I think it was 3.6 million last year. And then you compare it to like the all-time high of 6 million. And it's really still a long ways to go, which I know that wasn't like 2019, but you're still probably shooting for like in the 5 million number to get back to regular. Can Vegas hold 5 million foreign tourists plus all the domestic tourists that we've seen coming into the city? That would be crazy, like with the prices the way they are now. The other surprising thing for me was Australia being so high with how long that flight is.
Yeah, and Germany. Who knew there were so many people coming from Germany? That was a surprise to me as well. So let us know if you're surprised by that, and hopefully, we'll get more Asian tourists coming. So on the construction video I did not too long ago talking about Durango, I also covered Uncommons, which is this mixed-use development in the southwest part of the valley off Durango in the 215. It's directly across from the Durango Casino that's opening later this year, and it holds the DraftKings headquarters, quite a few other businesses. There's a lot of residential units there, a lot of shopping there, so it's that kind of place. Really cool, very modern, and they just opened up their food hall, which I know gets you excited. Anytime there's a new food hall,
it actually looks like a food hall.
Yeah, this is actually a proper one.
Yeah, I mean, you had to get it outside a casino for them to do it properly, but this looks like a food hall that you'll see in Europe and other places around the world. So they actually did it right. Big center area for seating, all these different eateries around the outside outside looks cool. If you live there, how awesome would that be to just roll out of bed and go downstairs and grab some food?
Yeah, all kinds of different food from like sit down restaurants. I think they have a couple of those, 12 kind of fast food eateries, all things from sliders to really good looking Asian foods of all different types. This does look like a true food hall. Shout out to Julian from Vegas Confessions. He went there and filmed it and shared it. But it's good, and it's called The Sundry. You know, based on my walk around there a month or two ago, this is before the food hall opened, but there was a lot of other stuff open, and they're continuing different phases of, you know, building more residential units and office and stuff like that. I think this is a big player in the, you know, local sort of mall mixed use developments, and of course Durango opening across the street is only going to help all of that. Durango is going to have a food hall as well. So if you live in the southwest part of the valley, and this is only maybe a 10 or 15 minute drive from the strip, you're going to have a lot more options there. And it's a cool place to kind of just hang out. They have that quad, or I forget what they call it, the courtyard area, which has like a nice coffee place. It's a nice place to hang out. So it's sort of like a kind of modern hipster, you know, place. I don't know. Lots of art around there. Check it out. I'll throw up some video of my visit. I snuck that past you. Throw up the video.
There. No, I got it. I got it at the end there. No, it looks really cool. And we were joking before the show. Did they know Durango was going to pick that site? And both were announced around the same time, you said. So it just kind of worked out well that these two partner up well together, and a lot of food choices between the two once Durango opens up. So it's cool to see. And if you live there or in that area, you know, this is just added goodness, you know, shopping, dining, all that stuff, even especially if you worked in the building too. I mean, dang, that's the life right there.
Yeah, live, work, play, everything right there. So that's pretty cool. So what's not cool is taxi fares are going up in Las Vegas. They got approval to increase fares, and including the initial cost, which I think is going up from $350 to $525. That's just the cost to start the trip. And then basically they changed it. Before it was every 1/12 of a mile you would pay so much. Now it's 1/8 of a mile, but the per mile rate is $2.96 instead of $2.76. The flat rates from the airport all went up just a little bit. But the big news out of this, and they haven't announced what this will actually look like, is that the taxi companies are really pushing for the equivalent of surge pricing. So during big events, they want to be able to charge surcharges and extra fees. And it seems like that's going to happen, although they haven't announced the details of that yet. So surge pricing coming to taxis, everything more expensive. They say this just keeps up with inflation. That's the message coming from the Taxi Cab Authority. And we don't know when this will go in place, but it'll be just in the next month or so. But I guess Uber and Lyft already charge surge pricing, so it's fair. Maybe,
you know, watch all this. Uber came in as like to shake up the industry, and all they're gonna leave when they leave with a whimper because they can't ever make money is it's gonna be they just made surge pricing and everything more expensive. So that's kind of funny. But no, I love when they, you know, I get it. Gas is up, you know, inflation's up. I understand why you would have to increase, but I used to be on the other side of this working for a company, and you know, when cotton prices would go up, we'd raise our costs for towels and stuff that we'd rent out, but when the price drops back down, nobody ever brings the price back down. So this is like set in stone. It's not like they're going to be like, you know what, gas dropped back down to $2.25 a gallon or whatever. Let's lower the prices a bit. No, this is just, you know, an increase, and it's going to stay there. It's sad to see surge pricing. I don't trust the taxi authority to do anything proper there. So I think it's going to be shady and all kinds of tricks going on with it. So hopefully it doesn't happen, or hopefully the tunnel is a smashing success so we can just ride around Uber taxis. I mean, Tesla taxis.
Elon will save us with the boring company. They did say that increase in the drop charge, or that initial charge that you pay, is because they want to entice drivers to do those shorter trips. And this will probably in turn give Uber and Lyft room to raise their prices. And oftentimes with surge pricing, taxis are cheaper. So don't forget about taxi cabs in Las Vegas, because it can still be a useful tool, especially during, you know, high demand times, at least for now, until they implement that surge pricing, and then it's all bets are off. As I alluded to earlier, Mark, the largest development in Vegas history has been announced. Now, Oakview Group had announced previously that they wanted to build this NBA arena down around Blue Diamond and Las Vegas Boulevard. This will be kind of next to the plot of land where the Bright Line station is, and a potential MLS stadium as well. And I think they had about 20 acres there altogether for the arena. But apparently they've made a deal to take up to 66 acres of this parcel, and it's grown from just being an NBA arena to a $10 billion project, or at least that's their goal. And the good news is they don't want public financing, so this will be something that will all be privately funded, with the NBA arena being the first sort of phase of that. saying that it could be open as soon as 2026, and they believe that'll help them get an NBA franchise, expansion franchise, and that's about the timeline that the NBA has said that they will expand. So this is all good news, although hearing about the biggest development in Vegas history, we talked, about is Vegas boom or bust, all those announcements in 07, 08, City Center as of now at a little over $7 billion is the largest in history. Of course, Viva Station Casinos project on the Wild Wild West site that was announced back then was to be even bigger. And then you had Echelon, which was another mega project that eventually turned into Resorts World. So it kind of gives you shades of that. But this company does own a couple of arenas. I think they just, in 2021, they opened Seattle's the Kraken Arena there. And they also have New York Islanders Arena. They own that as well. They are behind some successful projects. So let's hope they can get it done.
Yeah, it's kind of, this is crazy where we're at, where you build an arena and then hope to get a team. But you wouldn't think that would be smart business to build it before they come. You'd want to have that locked down. But that's kind of where we're at. And I've said it tons of times. You already have an NBA arena. It's called T-Mobile. You could just use that and it would be done. But nobody wants to do that. I would think that they would actually get some support for public financing because it's a homegrown team, which is kind of funny, versus a billionaire just wanting to move. This is somebody building something from scratch and taking that gamble. So I do think that would play well, but I love the subtweet / shade that he threw, a day after the deal gets signed to say, oh, we don't need your money. We don't want your money. We're going to blow this thing out without it.
Yeah, and they've also got some big gaming executives that they've hired because they do plan to have a hotel casino as part of this. And it's interesting because we said...
Did they steal them from Wynn or what?
No, but I'm sure that's in the books. But, they are looking to build this, and, that whole narrative of the strip stretching further south seems to be happening with stuff like this. And if the high-speed rail line, which is supposed to be shovels in the ground by the end of this year, gets built, that will be next door. The owners of Brightline are trying to get the MLS thing figured out. That's not announced. There's no expansion team officially announced yet, but it'd be hard to think that the MLS doesn't want to get into the Las Vegas market with as successful as everything else has been. So, this is a big development. We have to wait to see till they get, more details there. But I have to think they have some sort of backroom deal with the NBA that they're going to get it there. The NBA does want a standalone arena. They did say we could use another 20,000 seat arena. That I don't know about. Don't we have enough large venues already? But what's another one?
They plan on the Sphere closing by then, so they don't have to worry about those 20,000 seats.
So let us know what you guys think. A $10 billion project, that would be by far the biggest in Vegas history. Will this happen? Are we going to get an NBA team? This company does have some good financing behind them, and they do have a history of getting projects completed. Are you surprised by the international visitor numbers? Go Knights, go. What do you have to think about the A's thing? Hopefully we can put that on the back burner for a while and not have to talk about the Athletics for a while, but we'll discuss all of that stuff down in the comments. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in just a few days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
See you on Friday. Wearing different clothes this time.
Yes.